having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I have to admit I was a little confused yesterday. When everybody was declaring victory, Iran wants a ceasefire, and everybody was acting like Iran was surrendering. And before we begin today, I just have a few things I want to say about the current situation. And so a ceasefire is already very delicate. And, you know, we've seen countries violate ceasefires. They don't care if it's a ceasefire or not. And so when everybody was kind of excited, going, yay, there's a ceasefire. This is awesome. Look, you know, Trump won. I'm very impressed with, you know, Trump's, you know, foreign policy strong arm, you know, peace through strength. I agree with that. But I'm like, Iran didn't surrender. You guys are acting like Iran surrendered. And then sadly, before the ceasefire was supposed to go into effect, Iran just bombards Israel with a bunch of missiles, kills a family of 4 who was hiding in a safe room to avoid the attacks. And then, of course, Israel decides to go after some more of their military or radar structures. Iran goes after civilians. Israel attacks the military, or more specific, assault weaponry and infrastructure. So, I just remember, ceasefire is not a surrender. Iran didn't surrender. They just wanted some time because they're probably running out of missiles and running out of ammunition. And unfortunately, they decide to hit Israel right before the ceasefire is supposed to start. So Trump was ticked off. Trump was upset, but he was upset at both countries. And so what he said, and I think this was today, was he said, we've got 2 countries who's been fighting for so long and so hard, they don't know what the F they're doing. And he actually said the F word. You could see it enunciated. I am sure the reporter almost started giggling, but he looked mad. And he's mad at Israel and Iran because of breaking the ceasefire. Now, I don't know if he knew at the time that a family was killed from Iran's, pseudo ceasefire, ruse, like, oh yeah, we're going to be, and then bombing. I think they hit Beersheba, a city that has actually mixed Muslim, Israeli. It's a very diverse population in Beersheba, and that's where Iran decided to throw their missiles, as opposed to, as I said, Israel hitting specific military targets. And so I don't know if Trump knew that, because he shouldn't be mad at Israel if a family got killed by Iran not following the ceasefire. Of course, Israel's going to fire back and try to attack more of their military to prevent any more attacks killing their civilians. But, I always was taught, never let them see you sweat. Right? What commercial was that? Was that some deodorant commercial, right? Never let them see you sweat. He looked mad. And for him to be dropping the F-bomb, Is that a good sign or a bad sign? So when I saw that, I was like, not a good look. And the reason why is, again, you got to look like you're calm, cool, collected. You have to look like you understand, what the situation was. Iran is not going to follow a ceasefire. The whole reason why Israel attacked the nuclear capabilities of Iran, and then America did too, is because you can't trust Iran. So the F-bomb kind of signifies some shock. Like, this wasn't expected. I expected it. It wasn't a surrender. It was a ceasefire. I expected it. So that wasn't, like I said, the best look. This shouldn't shock you, President Trump. This is Iran. They're not going to follow a ceasefire. And they're going after civilians. They don't care. And they're going after not only Israeli civilians, Muslim civilians. They're indiscriminate with their attacks. The fact that it looked like he was mad at Israel as well. Yeah, come on. Can you blame Israel for wanting to fire back after Iran did that? And then also that it almost looked like he was more upset that the ceasefire, that he orchestrated was in jeopardy as opposed to, the whole situation that was in control. And so I was looking at that going, I think he's putting too much weight on this ceasefire. The ceasefire doesn't mean anything to Iran. And Israel is going to defend themselves and go after any more military locations and nuclear capabilities if they feel they're a threat. So I think, it probably wasn't the best move. However, on the other end, Trump was like, as soon as I'm in another press conference, as soon as I'm done talking to the reporters, I'm going to be getting on this. And he told Israel, and apparently he worked with Benjamin Netanyahu for no more retaliatory attacks, just no more, let's get this, calm. And I want there to be peace. Trust me, I would love a ceasefire to work. But, F-bombs coming from a president, we've never really seen that. I don't know if Ronald Reagan ever F-bombed. I don't know if I think Obama cussed once. We don't usually see presidents cuss. Now, is it a good look? What's good about the president cussing? Well, he's a non-politician. And if he wants to let the world know that you could piss him off and that you can, unfortunately, take him to a level where he is going to, get mad and he will, talk about you to reporters, then, that's a sign that he's not going to be very diplomatic about things. And so if he looks ticked off, other countries may hold their breath, may take a step back and go, wait a second, what is he going to do next? So that might just be a part of his plan. I don't know. I think he was mad, and so he was dropping the F-bomb. I think, he's the type of person that drops the F-bomb a lot. I do. I mean, we don't hold back. I'm not going to be, very kitten glovey if, we're dealing with something where it's this important. But, maybe that's a sign where, he's trying to let people know, you ticked me off. And now I'm on it. You got the eye of Mordor now. Okay? You're not going to be flying under my radar. So this is something that caught my attention. I'm ticked off about it. And again, we just need Iran to follow the ceasefire. Don't be throwing missiles don't be dumping stuff and killing families because you're like, well, let me just kind of get this out of the chamber. 1-877-Doc-Daliah. Don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So over the past few years, you have heard scientists and media outlets talk about how we need to embrace magic mushrooms to treat post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and how this is a science that has been overlooked. And I don't know much about magic mushrooms. Okay, I didn't do drugs. You know, when I was younger, I didn't, or now, I kind of was a goody two-shoes. I was intrigued because I remember seeing Cheech and Chong movies where everybody's giggling. And I'm like, it would be fun to giggle, but I giggle enough. Plus, you could get kicked out of medical school if you did drugs. You could fail your tests in medical school. You wouldn't be able to be allowed to work in the hospital. So it was pretty easy for me to make a decision to be drug free. And I had natural serotonin. I had like a lab, a lab's amount of like a lab dog amount of serotonin, just overflowing with it. So I luckily for the most part felt good. But I really feel bad for those who didn't have the serotonin that I had naturally and have struggled or have done tours of duty. And so when they said that they were looking at chemicals within magic mushrooms to help them, I was definitely intrigued by that. And this wasn't that much of a shock because psychoactive ingredients in plants, in certain medications, could have other medicinal applications. And the psilocybin, which is the main psychoactive ingredient in magic mushrooms, has been studied and again proven to help minimize depression and suicidality. In this latest study, however, not to be taken on your own. Okay, this would be a very controlled, choreographed regimen. But the recent research looked at a single dose and how it could alleviate depression for at least 5 years. The research was presented June 18th at the Psychedelic Science 2025 conference in Denver. And they looked at patients who had been diagnosed with clinical depression, also known as major depressive disorder. And they had participated in a previous psilocybin treatment study back in 2020. According to Dr. Alan Davis, director of the Center for Psychedelic Drug Research and Education at Ohio State, said most people who participated in our trial reported improvements in depression symptoms, intensity, or in the ways in which they experienced depression in their life. And this effect lasted up to 5 years after the trial. Meaning, remember, they studied them in 2020, and here we are in 2025 looking at the data. So many people find these results very encouraging, very exciting. And to look at psilocybin as a potential antidepressant could be just astronomical in terms of having other tools, especially for drug-resistant depression. Now, depression is tough for a lot of us to understand because if you don't have depression, it's hard for you to understand what's going on in these people's minds. For me, if I get sad or I, get into a funk about something, I'll put on a funny video. I'll talk to a friend of mine. I'll go out and exercise and I'll feel better right away. But somebody with major depressive disorder or somebody having struggles with their mental health might not be able to quickly, resolve some of the sad feelings they have. Also, who says that my way is the healthiest? When my father died and I had to, bring his body to Las Vegas where I could bury him because he was not living there. And my mom was freaking out. She was at the hospital going, what do I do? Where do we live? How do we? And I'm like, I have a place for you. Come down to Vegas, move with my younger brother who was still in high school. I'll take care of you. Rather than me mourning that day, I went to work because I'm like, I'm going to need money for all this. And I just worked through it. And it wasn't until months later that I actually cried, I cried for about 5-10 minutes and I still miss my dad. But, I didn't have that release of crying about it until months later. Now, that's not what we recommend in the psychology realm. We recommend you deal with your feelings right on. It's just I didn't have feelings about it right then and there. I was probably in shock. And I was like, I got to hold this family together. I got to organize a funeral. I got to pay for a funeral, even though we just, spent most of our savings on my grandmother's funeral. That was a few months prior. And I'm like, I got to, nobody else is helping. I got to be the one to do all this. And that actually helped me cope. But I'm not saying that's the healthiest way. So if you're upset about something and you're sad about something, we usually recommend for you to deal with it, right then and there. But for me, I'm like, you know what? Why is this making me feel sad? Am I just thinking about it because I have nothing else to think about? Let me give myself something else to think about. And then that's how I seem to address certain things that kind of make me feel sad. But for people with major depressive disorder, they can't control their thoughts. They can't control their feelings. They want to feel good. They want to laugh at a joke. They want to be excited about seeing a family member. And they just can't. Their mind is like, nope, not today. So they isolate so their family members don't see them, not want to be around them. They isolate and then they fall even deeper. So in this trial that happened back in 2020, published in JAMA Psychiatry, the Journal of American Medical Association Psychiatry, it included 24 patients with major depressive disorder. Half received psilocybin at the beginning of the trial, and the other half received treatment 8 weeks later. Each patient also underwent 11 hours of psychotherapy. 1 month after treatment, 17 patients of those 24 reported symptom relief. 14 of those reported full remission from depression. So we were talking a single dose. Now, some had a few administrations of it, but the single dose people apparently did just as well. So what do we have for depression? Well, we have a bunch of different medications. The most common one are the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, where it selectively inhibits the reuptake of serotonin that your body is shooting out so that it could stay in your system longer and not get sucked up that quickly by the receptor. And those medications work really well for some depression and some anxiety, but not for everybody. You have the tricyclic antidepressants. You also have the SNRIs. You have those that are dopamine agonists, and there's a variety of other things out there. But I've had patients after patients saying, I don't like how I feel. Another issue that some people have is the medicine makes them feel worse than the depression. So I'm still very naive as it comes to psychedelic drugs and the pros and cons and the long-term use, the long-term side effects. But what they're looking at is ketamine. They're looking at anesthetics. They're looking at amnestic medications. They're looking at things to see if somebody is starting to feel off and they're going to go into the abyss, is there something they could do right away to reverse it? And if they come up with something like that, we might be able to prevent suicide, prevent mass shootings, prevent crimes, prevent domestic violence, where once somebody's identifying, now, one issue is that some people don't identify it or they don't want to fix it. I've had friends where they like to sit and stew, and then they like to get mad and get more mad at the person they're mad at and just build on it. And I go, you're taking it to another level. It wasn't that bad. I know you're feeling better trying to brew and get all this kind of hate, and that's how, but you're going to go to a place you shouldn't go to with it. All he did is not call you back. It doesn't mean you got to break up with him. Maybe he's in class. Maybe he, and so some people will take a situation and want to mentally knead it like dough, into something that it's not. But we're making progress. I just don't know much about magic mushrooms, but seeing that this is something that we have actual departments in universities looking at, it's going to be fascinating to see what comes from this. The other thing, too, that we have to realize with depression is depression isn't caused by one thing. It could be caused by a variety of things. If you dislike your job, if you are in pain, if you're not sleeping well, if your diet is, I always feel good. And boy, do I feel good when I eat a little piece of chocolate. But I don't feel good after eating a lot of sugar an hour afterwards. Why? Because of the way the insulin makes you feel and your body's metabolism. So depression has to be treated multifactorially. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I don't understand why men competing in women's sports is so controversial. I mean, it should be completely logical to have females compete with females, men compete with men, and then if somebody is identifying as somebody other than their biological sex and their genetics, then they still compete where it's safer for them to compete, and safer for others, which would be, again, with their biological sex. And this became more of a controversy than it really needed to be. We've spoken about that, where sometimes there's an issue and people act like, well, this is the biggest issue. Like all people care about is Roe v. Wade, and if the federal government has a say in abortion or not. when that's really not what's on everybody's mind. I mean, people are more worried about the economy. They're more worried about, the border. They're more worried about where their tax dollars go to. And so it became such an issue that certain people that I guess wanted to boost their social media cred would make comments on it. And Simone Biles, who doesn't need any social media cred. I mean, Simone Biles is one of the greatest female Olympic athletes of our time. Decides, though, to go after Riley Gaines as it pertains to Riley Gaines talking about how a softball team had done blowouts to other teams having, I believe, a transgender female pitcher who's biologically male. And so when Simone Biles kind of goes after her, says she looks like a man, whatever happened on that, apparently the backlash Simone Biles got was so bad that she now had to delete her Twitter account. And on Instagram, she posted kind of a message about strength and madness. And she says, strength is what we gain from the madness we survive. And she posted that. She's not wrong in that quote, but what is the madness she's alluding to? The madness of women wanting to have safety in sports. One thing that really drives me crazy about social media is people don't understand who the audience is. They think they're preaching to the choir. They think that if they say something, it is going to boost their cred. It's going to give them more attention. And I notice this with a lot of stars and celebrities. They're like, well, we got to throw something out there that's anti-Trump, or we have to throw something out there that's woke so that everybody's off our case. We are safe from the cancel culture, and we look like we are doing our part. And now, mind you, if you are a celebrity, I think it's fantastic to have charitable charitable causes that you want to help. I love that you're not just taking in the money and taking in all the, promotion aspect of it. I love that you are doing something with that and doing good. Like Princess Diana did. She's princess, but she's going to be out there going to be helping underserved communities and underserved countries. So I think it's wonderful for stars and celebrities to have causes. And if they do feel strongly about something politically, they're allowed to do that. This is America. By all means, you can air how you feel politically. But what many of them miss is they think that everybody thinks like them, or that they are putting something out there that's what the majority feels like. And so when people are looking at the Simone Biles Twitter issue, it's representing something bigger than it probably should. But people are looking at that as, okay, wait a second. If she deleted her account, that must have been the backlash on her pro-transgender biological males compete in female sports. The backlash was probably so much more than she expected that she couldn't handle it and she had to delete her Twitter. It could even have been one person not liking what she said, but from what I understand, the backlash was huge. And people will post things like that medical student who said that somebody was questioning her pronouns, saying, what do you mean she, her? Your name is, I forgot what her name was. And she was bragging online that she poked him twice when she had to put in his IV. Okay, well, now that's assault. You get kicked out of medical school. I don't think she got kicked out of medical school, but she was posting that because she wanted to add to a thread that got attention. Boy, did she get attention. She almost got kicked out of medical school. And they think it's because everybody around them feels the same way. And when you look and you listen and go, people don't like this. They want their daughters to be able to compete in sports and have a chance. Why have women's sports categories like we have fought for and progressed if they have to compete with men anyway and lose? Then it's just going to be man, transgender, female. Those are going to be the only winners out there. So, Riley Gaines fighting for women in sports shouldn't be criticized, but people criticize her. And Simone Biles felt that she would be preaching to the choir and getting a lot of, ooh, yeah, support. Yeah, way to go, Simone, by going after Riley personally. Now, she apologized. Simone Biles apologized. And again, I like Simone Biles. She's an amazing athlete. But this was an example of celebrities and professional athletes and influencers, underestimating how the public really thinks. Remember, there was like an Eagles football game and people were yelling Trump, Trump, and USA, and they were all excited that Trump was there. And I remember hearing people, they go, really, in Philly? I go, yeah, there's a lot of people in Philadelphia that like Trump. People think that maybe it's because they're just listening to, one or two news outlets that want to make you think that, 99.999% believe one way and the 1% are just crazy MAGA people. And boy, did the election, that's what was so important about Trump winning this election. Whether you like Trump or dislike Trump, what this did is it taught everybody that don't underestimate what people find important as it pertains to elections and what people want. You could be pro-transgender athletes in sports all you want, but the average American is thinking about, their daughter. They're thinking about the economy. They're thinking about national security. So this is what I think is really significant about this is over the past decade, people have felt like they had to be quiet, that they were going to get canceled. They couldn't have conservative values. They couldn't question, even if they were Democrat, some of the Democratic platform campaigns. And they felt like because everybody would be against them and they were alone. And when Trump won, people learned that you're not alone. Many people feel that this is, a lot of the things coming out of the Democratic Party. Even Democrats are thinking, why are we advocating for this? This doesn't make sense. And when the fringes get so much attention and they hijack the whole platform, it ruins the party. Democrats are trying to fix that. And the Republicans are saying, you see, okay, we're not crazy. These are things that are concerning other people. And so maybe Simone Biles and some of these other athletes and celebrities may start to kind of realize that their fan base, their followers, the people that have rooted for them when Simone Biles had to compete, and she was fortunate enough to only have to compete against women. She didn't have to compete against men. She was able to compete against women. Maybe they'll kind of think twice about going after somebody personally who has every right to have views on protecting women in women's sports. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed. put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. So if you thought the year of 2025 would be free from election drama, you're wrong. There's a pretty important election going on today. And this is between the New York mayors, or who's going to be the Democratic frontrunner in the New York mayor primary. And the two frontrunners is Zohran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo. Now, Mamdani is a 33-year-old, I guess, self-described socialist, is endorsed by the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. I think Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, and he is the main challenger to Andrew Cuomo. If you remember, Andrew Cuomo was a former New York governor. The COVID debacle and his alleged hand in many nursing homes becoming completely entrenched in COVID and COVID deaths due to his hospital policy. And then he had to leave office when people had accused him of sexual harassment. Those are the two frontrunners as it pertains to New York City, one of the biggest, most populous cities in the country. Is, going to be possibly run by Andrew Cuomo or Mamdani. Now, what's interesting about the way this election will be is New York has the ranked choice voting system. So I guess voters can rank 5 candidates in order of preference. And again, this is the Democratic primary. So I don't think Curtis Sliwa or the other ones are going to be a part of this. It's just the Democrat side. And the voters can rank them. And I believe the person with the least amount of votes, their votes then go to the next ranked, next highest. And so there's a chance that even if the first wave of voting goes to one, after the multiple rounds of counting, somebody else could very easily win because of the splitting of the votes and then the votes going to, what a voter would consider a lesser of two evils. And so, this is early voting, I guess, started June 14th. So far, 380,000 people had voted by Sunday, more than double of what they saw in the 2021 primary. New Yorkers under 40 accounted for 40% of all early voters, according to New York Post. And a survey released last week found 60% of the younger adults ranked Mamdani first, compared to 10% for Cuomo. And Mamdani has run on progressive platform, freezing rent, making buses free citywide. I think government-run grocery stores. And so, this is that would really change things in New York. And I don't know if that would change things for the better. Andrew Cuomo, not sure if he'd be able to beat him with all of his history. However, he does have a lot of donors, even Republicans supporting him. Also, Andrew Cuomo has spoken out against anti-Semitism and wanting to protect the Jewish community. Mamdani had allegedly not spoken out against the Hamas attack the day after it happened, and people are concerned about his attitude towards Jewish New Yorkers. So I don't know much about him. Eric Adams, who won the 2021 election, is not running as a Democrat this year. He's running as an independent. And I don't know how far he would be able to go with this. So, New York, I don't live in New York, but I've been to New York multiple times. Every year I'm there, and my husband's family's from there. That city is, I love New York. I'm sorry, I just do. If you told me, Daliah, this weekend we have to go to New York, I'm there. Maybe it's because I'm such a city person. Farms are cool. I was just in the Midwest, and we were around a bunch of farms. It was nice, but I just love city. But what's interesting about that is they have some of the finest hospitals. Their medical infrastructure is believe it or not better than other places because they have more. It doesn't necessarily equate to the population they have, but the fact that they have more facilities does allow some improvement in medical outcomes. That's why Las Vegas, where I live, seems to struggle medically because we just don't have enough facilities. They're building more hospitals. They're trying to attract more physicians, but New York has it easier because they have all these medical schools. They have a lot of medical schools. They have a lot of residency programs. You got the whole tri-state area. And so, it's a big task to, run the city, let alone make sure it's being run properly. But Andrew Cuomo, during the initial onset of COVID, made bad decisions. And when old people had to be, removed from the hospital and, sent back to the nursing home so they could make room for other people, that kind of highlighted how government as a whole may approach seniors and medical issues as finances and resources become tight. Now, I get it. If somebody younger than me needs a liver or somebody younger than me needs medical care, let the younger person get it. And now I'm at an age where there's a lot more younger people. But I did not like what happened with just sent them back to the nursing home. The nursing home couldn't take care of it. Did anybody ask the nursing home? Did anybody prep the nursing home or nursing homes and say, look, in the hospital, if they're not on a ventilator or they're, we're going to send them back, at least give advice, give guidance. And unfortunately, people in these nursing homes were sitting ducks. And many of them ended up dying of COVID. And so the attitude that we saw when the poop was hitting the fan with COVID is sadly going to be the default response later on, whenever poop happens again or there's a medical chaos. And that frightens people because older people don't have to die to make room for younger people. AI is going to suggest that. You have politicians already kind of looking at, well, we need to use our resources differently. And, we need to maybe stop the screenings and maybe we have Medicare cover less. So we have more money but older individuals we're not old age at age 65 anymore. That's still middle age. And older individuals cannot be thrown to the side, thrown out of a hospital. This is not the way we take care of those who built that city and who supported us. The reason why many people are working, paying their taxes, are traditionalists, are baby boomers, or Gen X's, is because we know that whatever we are doing to help society, it's going to come back and also help us. And when seniors saw that, nope, it didn't matter what you did. It didn't matter all the money you put into Medicare or Social Security. Sorry, money's gone. That ticks them off. But that doesn't mean we have government-run things. I do not agree with government-run grocery stores, government-run, more socialist-type attitudes. I think that gets very scary because that, again, will pick and choose who gets resources, and there's going to be a lack of them because the government mismanages money, and that could be a complete mess as well. So I don't know what's going to happen in New York, but I think, when we see, who the people choose and if New York becomes the litmus test for socialism, whoa, we'll see what happens. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No